Hey everybody, Tony D and Little Joan here with a hot take about, well, it's about Antifa, but it's also about Tim Pool's reaction to Antifa and the new secret police that everybody's crying about. Um, what Trump has done is he sent the federales to Portland to try to get things under control. And I don't know if you could see the picture here, but the picture is. Let's see. I don't know if I can make this bigger. No, I can't. The picture is of two guys in camo, but the word police is on them, and they're very well armed and all covered up, and they have captured one of the Antifa guys here, right now. With all due respect to Tim Pool, who lives in South Jersey in the area. He's a fellow resident, a fellow honorary Piney, not from the area. I hope you'll stay, Tim. I know you're leaving, but I hope you'll reconsider and stay. But I respectfully disagree with your take on this because you were trashing Trump today about the PR nightmare that this opens up for him. And it does and it doesn't. And here's why I think you may be down the rabbit hole a little too much on this stuff. I think to the average person, they're not following this, as you say, right, Doggy? Yes, Doggy agrees. They're not really following what's going on. So, the press can say, oh, there's peaceful protest in Portland for 47 days. That doesn't really resonate with people. People aren't that stupid. When they hear protests for 47 straight days or 48 days or whatever it's been, they go, 48 days? Well, that sounds like a long time. That sounds like wait, how could the protest be going on for 2 months? They're not going to consider that a protest, especially in light of what happened in Minneapolis, which is still pretty fresh in people's minds, I think. And in light of all the statue desecration, some of the looting, this stuff is still pretty fresh in people's minds. The other thing is, look at this guy. Look at the guy they arrested. Now, this is from the viral video. So two guys come up to him, essentially detain him and put him in an unmarked van and take him away. And the girl in the video is, very upset, and you could hear her voice wavering, like, "Who are you? Who are you? And you don't have any rights to do this." But you can tell from her delivery that she's not really outraged, that this is more of just what she says to everything, because she's one of these Antifa social justice warrior people. Now, that may not resonate with people, but this will. So here, let me see if I get the right one. Ah, damn it, I knew I was going to get the wrong one. Where the heck did I do it? Oh, okay. Hold on. So here you have, that's our governor, Phil Murphy, marching with BLM protesters. Now this group isn't specifically called BLM, I don't think, although they do have a BLM sign. I thought this was a different group, but and this is him, of course, violating his own rules. Tyrant Phil Murphy, here he is. But these are the kind of people you think of when you think of Black Lives Matter protesters. When you think of protesters, you think of people with signs. They're not doing anything, crazy. They look like normal people who are just out, for the protest. They have signs. Signs being the key thing, right, Joan? Joan, do you want to come sit with me? So you shut up. I'm trying to make a point here to Tim, and you're ruining everything. You're ruining everything. Here, come over here. All right? Now you happy? You're in the middle of everything? You happy? So these guys are real protesters. They're peaceful. Obviously, they were peaceful if they marched with the governor, or else it would have been a whole scandal. But now, this is Antifa. Now, these guys don't look like protesters. And that guy who was arrested looks like one of them. He's got a helmet on or some kind of hard plastic thing. He's got all black clothes on. He's got like, this looks like a mountain climbing hook thing. Joan, I'm going to put you on the floor. If you bark, I swear to God, you're going to ruin this take, and I'm going to be mad. He's, in my view, he's not come to protest anything. He doesn't have a sign. He doesn't have a sign. No one knows who he is. He was walking down a darkened street with a bunch of other black-clad individuals. He's not black. So, he is just making trouble, is what his outfit says to me. Whereas, these guys are not here to make trouble. They're here to peacefully protest. They don't have weapons. They don't have a backpack full of stuff. Look at your average Antifa guy. Look at his pole. This pole he's got for his flag. This to me is a weapon. It's a weapon. These flagpoles are weapons. These masks, these guys were wearing masks before. And they're wearing sunglasses to further hide their identities. They've got pockets full of stuff. They've got all kinds of weapons. These guys have all been found with weapons. On top of the fact, the rioting and the looting. So, they're not going to confuse these college kids who are mostly white with these actual Black Lives Matter protesters who are mostly black. Mostly black, peaceful, and holding these signs. Look, enforce 2002 Amistad Law, New Jersey. That's a Black Lives Matter protester. He wants to change policy. These guys don't want to change policy. On the left here, they don't want to change any policy. Oh, am I blocking this one? Let me move it over. In case you see, these are the Black Lives Matter protesters. I'm blocking it. I forgot. And these are Antifa. So, and then these guys say stuff like, well, Antifa doesn't exist. They wear helmets. That's not a peaceful thing. They wear gloves and padding. I don't think these guys are wearing padding. Is this guy? Can't tell. It's too dark. So, but they're carrying like metal objects. These guys are carrying weapons to do damage and cause mayhem. So, the average, and let me give you an older person's perspective. I'm 54. I know there are people who are older than me that are sort of in my circle. Typically, if things weren't so polarized, or if they're not already up on this stuff, when they see something like this, they're not going to say, oh my God, those two unmarked police officers took that peaceful protester. No, they're going to look at the video and go, oh, good. That's going to be their reaction as an older person. Older people don't want to put up with nonsense. They just don't want to put up with nonsense. They don't want to put up with anything. They barely put up with the peaceful protest. They know they kind of have to, so they'll tolerate it. But this, what the Antifa guys does, what they're doing in Portland, no one over the age of 40 is entertaining that kind of stuff unless they're one of them. And a few Antifa guys are actually over the age of 40, if you can believe it. Most of them that Andy knows seems to expose seem to be between the ages of about 22 to 42. That seems to be the sweet spot for them. And keep in mind, these are feds. So, again, when they would pick up guys in the mafia, they first off, they have informants in the mafia, meaning guys they either turned or agents that they infiltrated, right? So this guy could very well be an FBI agent, and they are taking him off the street in order to debrief him and find out what he knows, and then they cut him loose. And in order to make this look like a real arrest, they arrest a bunch of other random guys who they just let go. That's their cover. So when the other guys are let back out on the street and they have no story because people immediately ask them, why did they arrest you? What happened? Why'd they let you go? They can say, well, I don't know. And then, the agent can say, oh, I don't know. Same thing with a confidential informant, a CI, a guy who's been turned, a guy who was already in, but he got under some charges he wants to get out of, so now he's turned informant. The FBI is definitely got some informants. They definitely have... Look, they would infiltrate peaceful protests, Tim. They infiltrated the peaceful protests. Those guys were easy to pick out because those are the guys who always wanted to start a fire or something. But in Antifa, they don't even have to do that. They don't have to do anything. They can just show up and listen. These guys are nuts. They're doing so much damage and so many things that are illegal. The agent or CI just has to take good notes. So the Antifa couldn't be more porous. Couldn't be easier to infiltrate. Because they don't have a good, tight organization. In the mafia, they were tight enough that if a guy got questioned, they wanted answers of what exactly they said to the cops. Right? And depending on their reputation and whether or not they'd been in jail before, they would rank, his responses accordingly. But that still didn't matter in the mafia. They still killed the wrong people who, there was, I think they portrayed it in The Irishman, a made guy who had either gone to a federal building or a guy who looked like him went into a federal building. They killed him, and turned out he wasn't a rat. He hadn't done anything. He was a stand-up guy, and they killed him. Now, Antifa isn't nearly that disciplined. So imagine the chaos running through their ranks when somebody goes in, gets picked up by the feds, gets taken in, questioned, and then cut loose immediately. What did they say to you? Nothing. They just kept me in a room. Why would they just keep you in a room for 4 hours and let you go? I don't know. Ask them. That's not going to sit well with these guys. Now, of course, so many people in Antifa have been cut loose by the Portland Department of Police. They may be stupid enough to believe that, well, that's the standard procedure. You arrest people and then you cut them back on the streets. But it's not that way with the feds. But I doubt that any of these guys know that. They're so possessed by their ideology, I don't think they're thinking straight at all. So, quite frankly, again, that's another easy way to infiltrate these guys. I think it would be insanely easy for a dedicated FBI guy to just get scooped up in one of the protests by the cops and then get let out with them and instantly join an Antifa cell. He'd be instantly in. He could just show up and hang out with these guys. They would just assume he was in a cell. He could just name some people. And keep in mind, these idiots are all on Facebook and Twitter and everywhere else. The government has access to all that stuff, thanks to the surveillance state. Screw you, by the way. These guys got a laundry list. They know exactly what they're doing. It's just a matter of, well, who are we going to pick? Who looks good on the report that we're going to arrest and throw in jail for the next 15 years? That's the only thing they got to make up their minds. They got to make up their minds of how many heads they're going to collect today, Tim. That's it. And the media can cry foul all they want. Who the hell's listening to them anymore? What kind of credibility do they have, even with their own people? Even with their own people, they've been caught in lie after lie after lie after lie. Yeah, you could still hate Trump, but you could also still have a brain enough to know, God, CNN is just the worst. Chris Cuomo's annoying and doesn't really report any news. He just complains about Trump all day, along with Don Lemon. Same thing with MSNBC. People see it. They may still hate Trump, but they see that the news stations aren't really news anymore. Fox is trashing them because Fox has some actual news segments on. And they got hot girls. So more people are getting their news from the internet. And that ain't great either, but, at least some of it is. Your stuff's pretty good. So I say, chill out, bro. Chill out. This is not a PR disaster by any long shot. I mean, if Biden puts this in a commercial, people are going to look at it and go, yeah, that's not a peaceful protester. I'm glad that kid's going to jail. He looks like an a-hole.